Narrating.
Hey guys, we're back. This is Fallstreak. After grumpily instructing us through the remainder of afternoon lessons, Mr. Narao dismisses the class for the day. With Tris leaving the bulk of his materials at school, we had a considerably lighter load to bear as we forayed into town. I know I said I'd tag along, but I can't really stick around for anything too lengthy. Due to her talent and unique aesthetic, there was a generous demand for Larona's hand-woven products. Balancing school and work must have been surely taxing, but you'd never guess it looking at her dizzy smile. Yup, we're stopping by the Morella Bakery for a bite. I reassured her as we made a final turn that places us squarely at our destination. Placing my hand at the door, I stop and exchange a glance with the Larah twins. I wonder if they're thinking the same thing I am. With puckish grins on their faces, they nod back at me. Newfound determination lights inside me as I push open the door to a familiar reception. Welcome to the Morella. Q? The docile voice that greets us quickly transforms into squeaks of terror as three silhouettes dash towards with impeccable speed. Super spontaneous! Exhales mightily. I don't know how to exhale mightily, so sorry. Tickle attack! With the coordination of a seasoned wolf pack, Tris and I brutally close in on our target's flanks as Kalia circles behind for the takedown. Ha ha ha! Tickle tickle. Tickle tickle. Glomp nom. Stop! What? I can't take anymore. After biting into the spoils of our successful hunt to our heart's content, we finally relent to let Alouette catch her breath. Can't believe we were all on the same page. The Larah twins exchange a painful-looking forehead five to celebrate our clean kill. Ow, not so hard, dummy. Not everyone is as blockheaded as you are. Tris dances out of the way as Kalia attempts to avenge their collective loss of brain cells with an angry knee. A joint maneuver from three directions at once to pincer the target. Double development. A classic tactical stratagem topped off with a rear blindside to seal the deal. All executed perfectly with minimum of communication. Woo! We really were breathing in sync. Yay! Though she doesn't really seem to get why, an enthused Noletta joins in on our cheering. You guys are so scary. After regaining control of her breathing, Alouette finally recovers from our trouncing and manages to get back to her feet. What, you really surprised Alouette? Alouette Basia? A young woman with a stilted style of speaking who worked here at the Morella Bakery. Though she was twice my age, with change to spare, the impression she gave off could best be likened to a small woodland animal. Why is Alouette so irresponsibly huggable? This calls for further investigation. Patapayan? In the name of science, I press my cheek up against her and start nuzzling her. Pachi, Pachi! Alouette responds with a similar nonsense noise as she caresses my head with a serene expression. Hey, me too, pet me too, Poopa! The Larah twins push and shove as they struggle for the right to be spoiled by Alouette as well. Alouette only has 2 hands. While Alouette had 2 younger siblings she was used to pampering, 3 at once must have been beyond what she was accustomed to. You look like a sunbathing kitten, Alouette. There are ways of reaching out and connecting with others, even for those who are poor at expressing themselves through speech. It was through interacting with Alouette through such a method, touch, that we've come to understand how much of a sweetheart she truly is. Hey, can't you see you're imposing on Alouette? Seemingly interpreting Alouette's monopoly of our noggins as an infringement on her territory, Larona tries peeling us away. Big Sis Larona can dole out wicked pats too. But though she does her best to emulate Alouette, it simply is not meant to be. It doesn't feel half bad when you brush my hair, but you suck at giving out head pats, Larona. With a solemn shake of his head, Triss extends a disapproving thumbs down. I don't get it. How hard could it be? Larona, my friend, the art of head pats is a path that can only be pursued when one has cleared their mind and heart. Isn't your anxiety and jealousy bleeding into your movements? Unable to be sated by Larona's ham-fisted malarkey, we abandon her in favor of Alouette's seamless strokes. No, where did I go wrong? When did I stray away from the light? It was no exaggeration to say Alouette was a master of this haptic form of communication. The way she gradually adjusted pressure from delicate to firm, migrated at perfect intervals from spot to spot, and mixed it up between her nails, finger pads, and palm was simply superb. But even more important than her peerless form and technique was the calming aura and pure intent her movements projected. Whenever she touches you, it feels like your heart connects with hers for the briefest of moments. Noletta, too. Alouette will pat Noletta, too. Noticing Noletta standing off by herself, Alouette tries reaching out to her. However, Noletta doesn't budge an inch. Without a word, she stares on silently at Alouette's outstretched arm. Unsure how to interpret Noletta's response, Alouette tiptoes into range and bashfully runs her fingertips against Noletta's snow-white tresses. Mew, Noletta has such soft, poofy hair. Bleh, that's no good, Noletta. You can't get head pats unless you make gibberish sounds, too. Nyeh. You sound like a constipated cat. You have to put your heart into it, Noletta. However, Noletta steps back from Alouette in a show of unmistakable rejection. Though she seems confused and distressed, Alouette's attention is quickly diverted by the needy Lyrit twins. What's the matter, Noletta? Sidling up to her, I whisper to her in a hushed voice. Alouette smells. Is that what it is? I'm pretty sure she knows how to bathe on her own, unlike a certain someone at first. My banter doesn't seem to lighten the mood, though. She smells like mist. It's different, but also the same. Huh? Is that so? I don't know what you mean by that, but she's a good-hearted person, always has a smile on her face. Smiling all the time, it's the same as never smiling. But Ade's right, Alouette's not fake. Fake. What meaning did that word hold to Noletta? Regardless, it didn't seem like she disliked or distrusted Alouette. I'm not sure I get it then. But Noletta merely shakes her head. I don't know. There are many questions I want to ask, but I decide to stop pressing Noletta for now. Sorry, we're not trying to force you to do anything you're uncomfortable with. I'll make it up to you later with those special Aid brand behind the ear rubs you like, okay? Meanwhile, judging by their salivating maws, it seemed the Lyrit twins' minds had already moved onto something else. That smell's got me hankering to sink my teeth into something already. You're like a teething puppy, Kalia. The aroma of baked sweets was certainly enticing enough to justify the obscene growls coming from Tristan's stomach. Though judging by his dreamy expression, he had already skipped ahead of us and ascended to confectionery heaven. Looks like my valuable taste testers are finally here. With a thunderous entrance, the person we've been waiting for emerges from deeper within the building. The owner and principal baker of this establishment, Mr. Morella. It was a heartily built man whose laughter made buildings tremble in their foundation. It was something of a routine for us to taste test samples whenever he came up with a new recipe, hence why we were here today. Been tinkering with the nitty-gritties of this batch for a while now. Come, you'll be the first to try it out. The big man smiles jovially as he brings out a tray of cake and begins portioning it out with a knife that seemed comically small in his massive paws. While free treats wasn't anything to sneeze at, the most rewarding part for me was how Mr. Morella used our feedback to push the limits of his work. It's fun being part of the process of iteration and refinement behind creating a new dish. Strawberry and lychee cake is the name of the game this time around. Triss, you dirty rat, don't go nibbling the corners off my piece while handing it to me. Kalia berates Triss noisily as he smears crumbs all over her nose and cheeks. But Triss shrugs haughtily in response, as if only rightfully taxing someone for his services. Nobody asked for your help in the first place. With a ferocious lunge, Kalia knees her supposed benefactor in the gut, causing him to spew his mouthful all over Larona's nearby figure. Why me again? It's all over Larona. Look what you did, dimwit. There are better ways to tell a girl you like them, Triss. Mr. Morella guffaws at the lively scene as Alouette and I help pick pieces of the cake out of Larona's hair before remorsefully kowtowing Tristan. Collateral damage, that's what my Sachirin would have called it if she were here. Sachirin was Mr. Morella's cutesy way of referring to his wife, which never ceases to amuse me, considering how powerful and influential she is. A UL refugee well-versed in technology, Sachi Morella was one of the principal forces behind the development of Soccatrine's economic sector throughout its golden age and Reconstruction. Her union with Mr. Morella had been a celebrated moment in history, making the first time a native of Soctarine and UL refugee were joined in matrimony. I haven't seen Sachi around lately. I hope Papa's not foisting too much of his responsibilities onto her. All I see of Sachirin nowadays is her sulky face when she comes here for a tea break to kvetch about work. I'll have to scold Papa for her when I get the chance. I'm sure she'd appreciate it, Chow Aid. Per Soccatrone custom, Chow was a polite term used in conjunction with a shortened form of the name to address children. Though it's considered endearing, family members and friends rarely use it since it's somewhat formal. It seems like we have quite a bit left over. I've decided. Larona, take the rest home and make sure those little uns snarf them down something good. Are you sure I can really take all this? They don't get to eat sweets too often, do they? It's a cardinal sin for kids to not have any sweets. Giving Larona no leeway to decide, Mr. Morella packages up the remaining cake and thrusts it into her hands. You're always looking after those orphans as if they were your own children. It's like you're their mom. Mommy Larona, wah-ha-ha-ha. No, it's nothing like that. If anything, I'm more like their fussy big sister. Make sure they eat up and get nice and plump. Thank you, Mr. Morella. Well, I guess a bite or two on the way back wouldn't hurt anyone. Nom nom. I'm struck by an ominous premonition as Larona idly chips away at the cake entrusted to her. Optimistic estimates project only a handful of crumbs surviving the journey home, perhaps a dab of frosting if we're feeling generous. So what's the verdict of this trial, children? Mr. Morella's eyes glitter in anticipation of what we have to say. Having carefully considered the dessert for a while now, I open my mouth to give my evaluation. Contrasting the floral honeyed flavor of lychee with the tartness of strawberry is a pretty neat idea. I'm not so sure about the execution, though. The consistency of the cake is sort of heavy. I don't think that's the direction you want to take with this type of dish, though. Instead of a pound cake-like crumb, I think a looser and fluffier texture will help showcase the lychee strengths better. I'm really fond of how you use the strawberries, though. They're like little acerbic checkpoints that reset your taste buds to keep the sweet parts fresh and free from staleness. Overall, I'd say it's tasty and has lots of potential. What? It's sweet. Mr. Morella nods in deep thought at the comprehensive input we provide him. Who knows, if pushed to the limit, perhaps this one could even become a regular selection of the bakery. Ooh, a regular selection of the bakery? To hear such words of praise from Chow Aid. In his excitement, Mr. Morella slams his hands down on the nearest counter with such force, the resulting mini earthquake causes our feet to leave the ground. As always, your feedback helps immensely. You can do it, yeah! Practically bringing down the ceiling as he skips away, Mr. Morella returns to the kitchen with renewed zeal. It's a nice feeling helping someone pursue their passion. Aid's so smart, she always knows what to say at times like these. Aid knows so many big words. That's because she inhales books like some sort of brain slug. What cheek? That reminds me, pretending to have business elsewhere, I slip behind Kalia and jump her. Haven't fulfilled my daily quota for brains yet. Yeah, don't gnaw on my head like that. Stop. That feels so weird. Not one to be left out, Triss joins in and begins grinding his teeth against her scalp in a bout of brain sucking of his own. Yeah, they're eating me. Please stop. Whatever you're doing, it's sending shivers down my spine. Trying to eat people is bad, Aid. Triss. Anyways, we should be going now. It'd probably be best to wrap things up now, for Larona's sake. We'll resume our inquiry into your huggability at a later date, Alouette. Dapa-doo. Alouette gives us some final parting scritches before returning to man the counter. See you, Alouette. Play with us again sometime. I'll return the tableware next time I drop by. Have a nice day, Alouette. Bye-bye. Waving goodbye to her, we depart from the Morella Bakery. After going our separate ways with Larona and the Lyrics at the stream's bend, Noletta and I spot two figures in the distance as we near the Rue cabin. It was Brussel and Mr. Damelior, Papa's proverbial right hand. As they draw nearer, I take note of a big pot in Brussel's hands. Brussel, I'm back. What's in the pot? Oh, it's empty. It's not. Huh? How did you know? Who would lug an empty pot around like that, Brussel? Me? I can smell it. Did you make pasta? Yeah. But you can't eat it. Why not? Faced with Noletta's inquiring gaze, Brussel shifts uncomfortably. Well... Seeing that he's struggling, Mr. Damelure chooses then to speak up. Your brother is still learning, Chaolita. He made several errors with this batch and therefore does not wish to share it. I believe he wants to make sure it's perfect before sharing it with you. Oh. You'll make something as good as Mr. Damelure? Yeah, it might take a while, but look forward to it. Okay, I'll wait for you. These two have such a cute relationship, it makes me a bit jealous. You offered to take Brussel as an apprentice in either the sword or the culinary arts, right, Mr. Damelure? I'm butchering that name, I think. I think it's nice he chose to go with cooking. I'm of the same opinion. With how transparent Brussel was, anyone could tell he chose the path of cooking so he could cook lots of pasta to make his sister happy. Though I hope he branches out eventually, Noletta really needs to start eating her veggies. By the way, Mr. Damelure, why do you elves even use swords in the first place? One would imagine much deadlier weapons could be produced with UL technology. Quite observant of you, Chow Aid. As the oldest member of the Lost Children, I remember a time when our homeland used firearms known as guns to fight. They enabled you to kill someone with a simple pull of a finger, making even children deadly combatants in war. When the calamities overwrote the laws of our world, many of the projectile weapons we depended on lost their effectiveness. However, that did not end our wars. Our homeland simply took up the sword to continue its bloodshed. Do not be mistaken, though. UL arms and armor are produced from the state-of-the-art technology. Our weapon theory has been forged in the flames of countless wars. For example, the Lost Children's signature weapon, the Reaper Blade. A peculiar double-edged curved sword that enabled the user to deliver crippling low-line cuts from unconventional angles. Oh yeah, this came up in class, but do you know what the forlorn master's name was? Master's name? Mr. Damelure makes a difficult expression at my question. She didn't have one. Huh? I was like most people in the war, someone who was dropped onto the battlefield. But Master was different. She was born on the battlefield. The closest thing she had to a name was her call sign. I see. Names don't seem like the hottest trend in the unknown lands. A name is something that should be treasured. I have come to understand that after serving under one who has never known that simple blessing. Something we take for granted, something we should take for granted. Yet it could not be said everyone possessed that small ordinary treasure. In any case, the young master will not be returning tonight, Chow Aid, so allow me to prepare your dinner for today. Oh, leaving me all by my lonesome again? What an awful papa. On the contrary, it is because the young master is thinking of you that he sent me here. I do have some business to attend to beforehand, though, so I shall be taking my leave for now. With that, Mr. Damelure melts into the shadows of sunset, leaving the three of us behind. You can go ahead and play with Aid, Noletta. I'm tired, so I'm going to go in and rest. Why? You'll get lonely. What? No, I won't. You will. No, you will. But, why don't you play with us too, Brussel? Then no one will be lonely. But I need to find out why I messed this batch up. Mr. Damelure said I had to figure it out. Is that so? Let's do that together then. I'm pretty good at critiquing food, you know. Okay. Aid's criticizing is scary, though. Don't worry, if you cry for over 10 minutes, I'll stop. Why only if it's more than 10 minutes? Having persuaded Brussel, the three of us set off towards my house. It must be nice having a big brother that looks after you, Noletta. Brussel looks after me? Noletta makes a mystified expression, as if I had just claimed pigs were flying through the sky. No, I'm the one that looks after Brussel. If I don't make him eat, he goes hungry without saying anything. If I don't hold his hand, he can't fall asleep. He gets lonely and cries easily. He has trouble opening jars. Noletta, what are you telling Aid? Don't worry, I already know most of those things. That's not all. Noletta always chases away anyone that bullies Brussel. Isn't that right, big brother Brussel? I tease Brussel in a sing-songy voice, causing him to pucker up like a sad puppy. Are you bullying Brussel right now, Aid? Yep, so you better chase me away. Okay. Don't chase her! In a comical turn of events, Brussel starts chasing after Noletta, who is chasing after me. Hey! Too slow. It was true that Noletta always seemed to be taking care of her awkward older brother. But having someone to look after like that was a treasure in its own right. Being an only child, it made me a bit envious. Why are you like this, Noletta? It was a peaceful scene, being pursued by a pair of silly siblings beneath the evening sun. This ordinary daily life, full of tiny miracles. The hope that tomorrow will be just as golden is what allows me to accept today must end. Every book always ends in the exact same way. Beckett page? From zero and back to zero, huh? The blank pages found at the end of a story never failed to fill me with a gaping sense of emptiness. The end of an adventure, the freezing of time in a world encapsulated by the book. It made me feel lonely, thinking the author's pen had stopped, leaving the characters trapped in a limbo of unknown inaction. The characters in a book cannot move without a writer's conception and a reader's acknowledgement. Forever bound by the unseen script of a god they can never know of, they exist as nothing unless imbued with the will of that god. I really shouldn't read another. Though it's getting quite late into the night, I don't want to stop reading. The feeling of emptiness that a book's end instills can be filled by starting a new book, after all. Just like a thin finger turning back a page, or perhaps like taking a second volume into one's hand, so long as the sorrowful reader continues to reject reality, the story will go on forever. A nursery rhyme from the New World where the lonely me fell in love with a book. Characters she'd been with throughout their entire lives, dear companions she had come to form a bond with. Yet at the book's end, they could no longer stay by her side. So the lonely me asked of the sorrowful me for another dream, another meeting, and another parting. A cruel poison, a sweet, necessary pain. That is what stories are. I rub my tired eyes as I gaze out the window into the quiet night. The illuminating warmth of the sun had faded long ago, draping the land in an uncertain darkness. Everything is cozier in candlelight. When the real world goes fuzzy, the world on the page grows sharper. Nothing eases poison down the throat better than emptiness. Heh. An empty, unchanging world, so much like that of the Golden Dream. It always filled me with an uneasy restlessness, being alone like this. Now it has many hours later, and I was still up in Mother's room. Now it was many hours later. That's right, whenever I read the books Mother left behind, a warm feeling always wells up inside me, a feeling I'm always reluctant to let go of. Though this wasn't actually her room. When she died, we moved away from the house where she once lived. This room merely held all the books that once belonged to her. Papa had brought them along, not wanting to leave them behind to gather dust in the old house. The Golden Dreams archive dwarfed it, but it lacked the soul that laid in Mother's private collection. Pages that carried a distant scent, bindings worn by the passage of time. Within the crinkled sheets there laid a certain feeling, a wistful kind of despair, one that denied a reality that was far too cruel. Hey, Mother. The lonely me, that person was you, wasn't it? I've always wanted to ask about her. But whenever I do, it hurts Papa. With a pained expression, he would go silent and look down, as if gazing at words too shattered to pick off the ground. All I knew was the day we commemorated her death was the same as my birthday. My 10th birthday coincides with the 10th anniversary of her death. In other words, she died the same day that I was born. Mother's story ended when mine began. A face I did not know, but one I've always longed to touch and behold. Sometimes I want to imagine her face coming alive, laughing when reading something funny, or crying when reading something sad, but I can't. Because of me, she doesn't have a face. Even Papa is afraid her face is fading from his mind's eye. For me, though, Mother did not exist as a person. Having never known of her, she was nothing more than a nebulous concept, a vague warmth that I couldn't give form to, no matter how much I wished to. The only form of connection I had with her were these books. Why? Why won't you tell me anything, Papa? I heave a heavy sigh. It's about time I call it a day. I'll sleep here tonight as well. Sometimes I wonder if the blankets and pillows here see more use than the ones in my actual bedroom. Extinguishing the nearby candles, I retreat under my covers and stare up at the dark ceiling. I guess Kalia was right about me being a book-inhaled brain slug. With a little chuckle, I boop an imaginary Kalia on the nose before shutting my eyes to the world. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this episode, so stay tuned for the next episode.
Thanks for watching!